All right, so we got toilet paper shortage, mad long lines in the supermarket, people wearing construction masks instead of surgical masks. It's the Rona. It's here. It's going to get you. Or is it? Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, it's Nikki of Soul Things Botanica, your one-stop shop for herbs, waters, incense, and more. And you are listening to the How to Be Magical podcast, where I talk about all things magical, black, and fun. This episode is about the Rona or coronavirus and communal health and, times of panic and how we can use ancestral guidance to get us through what is going to be, looks like is going to be a rough patch for quite some time. There's so many things to cover, but one thing that kept coming to me, because this is like my second time trying to record this episode. I recorded it the first time and I realized I missed so many crucial points that I was like, all right, let me take it down and go back to the drawing board, which I feel this is a good time for it. I know we just had the retrograde. The retrograde is now over, but we're still in the shadow period. So I still feel very committed to just re-examining how I do things. And I feel like if anything, this coronavirus COVID-19 situation is definitely a call to us to slow down and to reevaluate how we working some things out in our lives. So as of last night, I live in New York, and New York City, our mayor has officially closed the schools. So the Department of Education has officially closed schools. The tentative date for schools reopening is April 20th. That's a whole month and change away. The mayor even said he doesn't know if the schools are going to even be reopened at that time. Schools could be closed for the rest of the school year. Worst case scenarios, there's no school for the rest of the school year. So what does this mean? This means that we're going to have more people struggling to find childcare. We're going to have more people struggling to provide meals for their children. About 1 million children in the public school system qualify as homeless, meaning they live in shelters or they're housing or food insecure. And a lot of community businesses have stepped up and started to offer, plans on how they're going to help the community eat during this time, which I think is great because it's like, listen, you can't have people without food. I'm sorry. No. This country is a lot of things, but I don't want to believe that we're going to really let people not have food. And as I was, listening to the news and, just seeing all the conversations that were taking place online, I just kept on thinking, what would my grandmother do? What would Nana do? And my Nana, was raised in Depression era Brooklyn in the 30s and 40s. She was a Girl Scout and a Girl Scout troop leader. She was a Sunday school teacher. She sold insurance. She was on the choir. She had a very illustrious life, but she was always focused on the community and she was always focused on what she could do for herself and for her family. So she is the one who was like, oh, we can make everything from scratch. We would make all kinds of shit from scratch. And, times like now, what would Nana do? Ooh, excuse me. Nana would be in here buckling down. There's a couple of things Nana would do. So I'm just going to go through the list. Things that I think my Nana would do and things that I think that we should all consider dealing with this coronavirus situation right now. As a community, we have so many resources available to us now that the elders and ancestors did not have available to them in their time. But I feel like the combination of the resources that we have now, with the ingenuity that we have from the past, we definitely going to be able to make it out on the other side of this shit. Okay. I definitely believe that. There is so much information out there that people used to have to go to a library for. People used to have to spend a lot of money on books for. You get it on your phone for free. So maybe that's just me, maybe that's just, again, like I said, I was raised by this woman who was always like, oh, we can make that. We can make that. We can make that. We can make that. And now as an adult, I always think, can I make that? Is it worth that? Is there something I could do that's, that's similar to that, that's comparable to that? And you start to realize that you don't need as many things as, American consumerism tells you that you need. This is why even that last episode that I wrote about consumerism and why we keep buying shit that we don't really need. And now look, now we down to the basics, right? I'm just saying, I didn't know that this was happening, but I felt something. Okay, so I just want to do a quick overview of the things that I feel like my grandmother would do, that the elders would do in a time like this, and then I'm gonna come back to it. So first, I'm gonna say they would give what they could. Second, I'm gonna say they would eat good food. Third, I'm gonna say they would be resourceful. Fourth, I would say they would keep the faith, right? And yeah, I'm gonna keep it at that. And then also, special for this episode, I pulled some cards for collective community reading about how we should handle the coronavirus situation, and I pulled some interesting cards from the Akamara Tarot. So I will be doing that reading at the end of this broadcast. So yeah. So all right, let's start at the top. Give when you can. I feel like our grandmothers were constantly thinking about other people, right? Like if you had a grandmother who was in a church, then you already know. Sometimes she'd be in there baking something. You're like, ooh, what's that? It's like, don't even look at this. It's for the church. You'd be like, damn, you don't never make us pineapple upside down cake for just because. Why are they getting it? Oh, they having a banquet. Oh, it's, Women's Day. Oh, it's Father's Day. Oh, it's Children's Day. Oh, it's Usher Board Committee. Just, you'd be like, damn, okay. Like, they will always be making something. She would be making turkey wings, meatloaf. I mean, all the good food, we go to the church. And I'm like, damn. But give when you can, right? So maybe right now, a lot of people can't, like a lot of restaurants and stuff are shutting down. They only doing takeout because they don't want people congregating or whatever. But check on the people who can't make it out. Check on the people that are elderly in your community. Check on the people that have children, small children, right? Anybody who just had a baby really can't and should not be out in the supermarket braving no crowd with no newborn baby. They should not be doing that. And being at the supermarkets are so crowded, and like if you get there early, you might get food. Like the shit is looking kind of crazy. Like start to pool your resources with your community, with your neighbors, and say, hey, I'm making a run to the supermarket. Anybody need anything? So that way you can consolidate your time and your money. And that way, if everybody in the, if you got 3 neighbors that want to put money together and go get food, it's easier to have 1 or 2 of y'all go than to have everybody go all at the same time, right? So check on your elders, check on people with young kids, make phone calls, just do wellness checks on people, just call people, say, how you doing? How you holding up? Just talk to people, because people, they telling people to isolate, so they got a lot of people sitting in the house feeling sad and shit. They got a lot of people in the street, like, I don't give a fuck. I'm not one of those people. I don't play those games. I'm like, I don't really know. I live in New York. There's millions of people here. It's all kind of germs flying on a regular basis. They tell me to stay home. I'm going to stay home. Okay? Babysit for people if you can. Provide childcare for people, because just because there's kids out of school don't mean that everybody is off from work, right? There's a lot of people have jobs that cannot be worked remotely, and those people their jobs is hanging on by a thread, and those people still have to venture out into the world and come home, and still take care of their homes the same way. So we gotta make sure that we have some type of safety net for those kind of people. And if you're not close to any people in your community like that, and you don't know how to give, here's what you could do, right? If you even got $5, and we all got $5. Some of us have $5 we could spare. If you just got $5, Cash App somebody $5, okay? Venmo somebody $5, PayPal somebody $5. You don't know what you really could do for somebody right now. Sometimes $5 can get people through a lot of fucking hard times right now, okay? And if you get $5 from at least 2 people, 5 people, 6, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a time where we have to really believe that our money is I don't know what kind of power the money itself is losing, but our sense of community and our freeness and sharing resources with each other is going to be what gets us through this hard time. So that's what I think Nanas would do first, right? I feel like Nanas would give when they could, right? Second, eat good food. I feel like this is a good rule of thumb in life, right? If your great-grandmother wouldn't have recognized it as food, and maybe you don't need to be fucking with it right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like my great-grandmother, if I make some collard greens, some cornbread, and some barbecue chicken in the oven, and I put that on my table, she's going to know what that is, right? She's going to be like, okay, it's barbecue chicken and greens. Ooh, let me get a little pot liquor, right? If I put some old meat, some newfangled Beyond Beef which I like, but I'm not giving that to my dad. Or some tofu or some soy or some processed shit. Nah. I feel like right now, when we trying to strengthen our immune systems and keep our bodies fortified and strong, this is a time we're going to have to get back to eating some real food. I'm going to call it real food because if it's just one ingredient, that's real food. I'm just saying. The less ingredients, the better, right? So I feel like this is the times when you make your tonics, just to strengthen your body. I made a tonic last week because I felt a little tingle in my throat. I didn't know if it was allergies. I didn't know what it was. But I was like, all right, I don't really feel like being bothered with this. I'm not about to give in to fear and be like, oh gosh, I'm sick. What I did, I boiled up some detox tea that I had in here. I believe it was like, I don't think it was senna, but it was like rose hips or some other type of tea. But that was just the base. Then I put some fresh garlic, some fresh ginger, some sliced up lemon, some honey, and a bit of rosemary. And I let that simmer, and I put it in a big mason jar, and I put it on my altar, and I asked them to bless it. And every morning, I will scoop out some, make sure I got at least 2 garlic cloves, and ate 2 garlic cloves whole, and sip some of that broth and make sure there was some honey in there, and at least a lemon, right? It was like at least a lemon, at least a little bit of ginger, like a little bit of everything, and I would warm it up, and I would sip it, and I would have that in the morning, and then I would have it at night. And that was over a week ago. I was waking up every morning for at least 5 days feeling like my throat was on fire. I feel fine now, right? So some good old-fashioned ginger, garlic, lemon, honey, rosemary, some hot water does wonders, right? I feel like all of those tonics and things that your grandparents used to make up for themselves, they used to have their little, their hot lemon water in the morning or their tea in the morning, or something warm at night, and, maybe a little prunes a few times a week to keep them regular. They ate a lot of beans, dry beans that you have to soak, like food that needed to be prepared, like I got dry beans in here because the supermarket done ran out of canned beans. And what I got to do, I got to put these beans to soak so I can have them to cook later on. I have a pressure pot in here, but I'm trying to reduce how much things I'm doing to the food at this point. Like, I'm home. I don't have no reason to be in a rush, right? I think that's also a good thing to do during this time. If you're going to be home, if you're working from home, you're going to have dealing with kids at home, then these are the times when you can start, teaching about nutrition, use your times and food prep as learning times, because I feel like there was a lot of things that I learned just by cooking with my grandmother. It wasn't always about food sometimes. She would be talking, she would be saying stuff. I'd be picking up little extra stuff like, oh, this is not about food right now. Oh, okay. But I still had to know the basics about measurements and, kitchen safety, hygiene, and all those things, food prep, how long does it take to make something? What, putting together the grocery list. Like, these are all things that now are family activities. And I feel like it's sad that it's taken almost like a pandemic to make people feel like family again. But these are the silver linings. Back in the days, our elders did not have all of these modern conveniences. They did not have this shit. They had to make it work. And in a lot of ways, is everything that you read about the Industrial Revolution and about, the formation of cities and and this like modern workscape that we know of, the 40-hour work week and shit like that. A lot of that shit is new, and it had a lot of effects on us that a lot of people don't really want to admit. There's a lot that we lost when we started to leave our homes to make money, and now that we're home, we have an opportunity to kind of like reconnect with some of them old ways and slow down a little bit and get back into the ways that our grandparents just trying to tell us about, that we thought was old fashioned, and now look at us. So we got to respect the fact that the elders was able to hold it down. Well, like I said, they had a lot less than we had, so much less, and even if you even take it even further back, the ones who were snatched from their homes and brought into a new world and landed in the Americas and the Caribbean, they had to come in with nothing pretty much, but everything that they already knew, and they had to try and reconstitute some semblance of a life in a strange new place, and they did it. So we could stay and be in quarantine for a couple of days, weeks, months, however long it's gonna be, and we won't die, right? Like, we are made of tougher stuff than that. So That's what I feel like our grandmothers would do. And second, they would eat good food. Also, in concert with eating good food, they would drink a lot of water, right? So juice and soda and all that shit is relatively new. A lot of us, if your grandmother was making something, she was making some lemonade from scratch, some sweet tea, some herbal tea. She might have put a little sugar in it, but shit, my grandmother used to give us this Lipton tea she used to make in the summertime. Oh gosh, you will want to drink water, because she ain't put no sugar in it. Ooh, just cold Lipton tea. Ugh. No, I'm pretty sure it's good for you. It's probably got free radicals and all that shit in it, but I'm good. I'd rather drink my water, right? And in these times, we dealing with a respiratory illness, something that's airborne. You want to make sure you're properly hydrated, right? You want to make sure you are properly and adequately hydrated. You want to make sure your plants are well watered in the house. If you have a humidifier, you might want to turn that on. We got to really take care of our respiratory health. And dehydration is horrible for respiratory health, because when you are dehydrated and all your membranes are dry and cracked, that's when you're most susceptible to infection, right? When they're moist and healthy, things are able to move freely. And when it's dry and cracked, it can crack and it can lead to, higher infection rates. So you want to make sure that you stay hydrated, wash your hands and all that shit. I would also say to stay active, right? So staying active and moving your body doesn't necessarily have to involve going to the gym. I would not be going to the gym right now. If I was anybody, I really wouldn't. I'm sorry. I wouldn't do it. I ain't risking it. Too many people, too much body fluids. No. Hell no. But, you got home workouts. You got YouTube. You got, Pinterest. You could do simple home, you could do a simple workout routine at home. If you really need to go outside, get some fresh air, go for a walk, a nice brisk walk. Keep yourself covered up, but go for a walk, get some fresh air. The weather's breaking now. I would go for a walk early in the morning, before anybody got on the street, really. Early in the morning, go for your walk, get some fresh air. And, I feel like that's what they would do in terms of eating good food, moving our bodies, making sure that we are staying fortified, take your vitamins, take your supplements, and really load up on the leafy green vegetables, your grains, your good, whole grains. There we go, right? Third, be resourceful. So I did see a tweet earlier with somebody who was like, oh my gosh, Rise and Grind Twitter, is at it again. I can't even just stay home and relax. I mean, you can stay home and do whatever the hell you want, to be fair. But I'm sorry. Like I said, I know who and how I was raised. I was raised by a woman. There was no such thing as I'm bored in my grandmother's house. There was no such thing. I never got to say I was bored, ever. Because, there was something to do. She was going to find something for you to do. It was better if you found something for yourself to do, right? Because anything that she was going to find for you to do was not going to be fun. She ain't guaranteed fun. And she always said that I'm not the recreation coordinator. So I'm not the activities coordinator. All right. So I got to coordinate my own activities. Right. But I feel like my grandmother would definitely be resourceful, So I'm saying this because there's a lot of things that I want to buy right now in the supermarket that I realize I could just make myself, right? I love my hummus, but I could buy chickpeas and tahini sauce. I don't need and lemons. I don't need to spend money on I don't need to stand in line for no hummus if I can make it in the house myself. I also, I've made hummus before. It's very tasty. But I haven't made bread before, right? I always wanted to learn how to bake bread. I know how to make biscuits and things like that, but I want to learn how to bake bread so I can make my own artisan bread. So that's going to be one of my goals while I'm, while the quarantine is on, is I'm going to go, one of my last supermarket runs, I'm going to go get me some flour and some yeast, and I'm going to figure out in here how to make some bread. And I will share that with the class when I figure it out, because ain't nothing like a nice piece of toast with your coffee in the morning. Ugh. I'm like, and you know what? I'd rather make the bread myself. At least I know what's in it, and then I can share it with my family, right? I can share it with my neighbors if I want, right? I also would like to say that I think everybody, especially the spiritual folks, starting a garden, even if you just start your own little herb garden in the crib, is great. Right? So I have my plants in here, and they really add to my quality of life. They add to my air quality. It's peaceful. It's just something that I really enjoy doing. I love checking on them, and I love seeing new growth, and I love tending to them, and it just makes me feel very happy. It just makes my home, me and my spirits love the plants. The plants just turn the whole house up. But I really want to, experiment with different herbs, and I use a lot of herbs in my spiritual work, and I don't have a lot of room in here. My mom has a backyard, but it's still a little cold. But I want to be able to grow a few herbs in the house, mainly just like some thyme, maybe some basil, something simple little herbs that I could use for my baths, because it's always good to have something that you've grown from your own hand. It has all of your essence and your ache in it. And then when you use it in your spiritual work, it's that much more powerful. I think especially now that people should not be going out and about and be all, you don't need to be out in the street shopping and doing all this extra shit that you don't need to do. If you can find a little herb starter pack at Home Depot or at your local supermarket, just get that and try your hand at it, right? Again, we cannot say, we don't have time for this, that, and the third. These are tried and true crafts for years. People have been growing plants and herbs for years. We can slow down and learn how to tend to our herb gardens and learn how to tend to our plants and our living things in our homes, right? Also, take time to learn a new craft. You got time, and when you get bored of watching shit on Netflix, learn a new craft. I found this website. One of the homies on the gram had posted it, but her page is private. So I'm just going to tell y'all, it's called The Eye. I'm going to put it on my stories when this is done. It's called The Eye. It has all of these free books. They have all of these occult books, different types of African traditional religions. It's under occult. They got alchemy, astronomy, all this. But they have like survival books too. They have all these different books about full-length ass books, okay? So if you want to learn any type of craft, they have metalsmithing, they have sewing, they have all these different cookbooks with these different recipes. Like, it's a really dope site. And I just love sites like that, because it's like, you can never learn, you can never have too many skills. Like, I know a little carpentry, and my dad is a contractor, and he taught me a touch of electric. I don't feel safe enough to do electric work, but I help sometimes, right? But I know how to use my power drill, and I have a little hand saw in here. Like, I was wanting to get a circular saw before all this shit broke out. I still might get it, because I got a couple things I want to build. Like, I want to build some planter boxes in my mom's backyard. I've been wanting to do that for years now. I feel like there's a chance to really do it, because I'm like, I want to try my hand at growing some vegetables, So it's like, there's always something new that you can learn, whether it's a new trade. I mean, you're going to learn a complete trade right now, but you never know. You can learn a new craft, a new hobby, and at the very least, study some history, right? I feel like quiet time is always a good time to find. I mean, that website that I was telling you about, The Eye, I found some amazing resources on Congolese history, also on Palo, the different branches of Palo, and just like some origins, like, some spiritual origin. I found some good shit. I'm going to be sharing those resources with y'all over the course of the next few weeks. And okay, so what else would the elders do? They would be resourceful. Lastly, fourth, they would keep the faith, right? It's one thing we always joke about. Our grandparents, they lived in church, right? There was always church. Church on Sunday, then you had Bible study, you had choir practice, you had usher board, you had the mothers of the church, you had the Christian summer school, Christian Bible school, like all of these things, church summer camp, all of these things, all of these trips and bus rides, and all these things that need to be organized, because for them, church was the center of their community, right? It wasn't just about church. It was about all of the activities that they would be so busy planning and doing, and all of the things that we're making available to people in the community. And I feel like we can keep that same spirit about us. Maybe we don't all go to church no more, but we can revamp our spiritual practices and maybe recommit ourselves to our spiritual pathways in new and sustainable ways. One way is you can start a gratitude journal, especially now, all this crazy shit going on. Take stock of all of the things that's going on right in your life. I don't believe in walking around being scared and living in the spirit of fear. However, I do believe in walking in the spirit of gratitude. Like, every morning I wake up in here, I be having the time of my life, because I'm silly. I literally be in here cracking the fuck up, having the fucking time of my life. It is 6 o'clock in the morning. I be in here dying with myself. Why? Because I'm grateful that I even have a place to be where nobody is fucking with me. I am safe. I have food. I am cared for. I am provided. I'm at peace. That is something for me to be happy about. No matter what you have going on in your life, and I really, listen, I know there's a lot of people that's going to be mad with me for even saying shit like this, but I'm dead ass. It don't matter what you got going on in your life. You got at least one thing to be grateful for. And if that's all you got, then you need to be grateful for that. Sometimes it really be like that. You be going through some crazy shit. You be like, you know what? At least I got my mind. You know what? At least I got my body. You know what? I might not be feeling that great in health, but at least I got a friend. At least I got a relative. We need to really start thinking about what we have and stop thinking about what we don't have, because this ain't going to be the time. It's not about what you don't have right now. It's about what you got and if you work in it. And I feel like our elders knew that. You know, like I said, they had to deal with all types of wild shit that we don't even know. Like, this is new in our lifetime. I ain't never in my life had school been closed outside of a vacation or a summer break because of some health shit. And I went to school. I was in school when the towers hit, when the towers got hit on 9/11. I was in school. They rolled that TV into the classroom and we watched the shit. And they ain't shut down school for that. Maybe I didn't go to school for a couple of days, but we was back in school the following week. And 2 towers had just got bombed. And there was dust all over Manhattan and shit was crazy. So I'm like, I have never experienced anything like this in my lifetime. But I'm not going to sit up here and say that it's the worst thing that we've experienced, but it is very serious. But at the same time, this is the times when we start to really take stock of what we have and start to really commit to an attitude of gratefulness and humility right now. I'm not sure if y'all know, but Kenya, Ethiopia, like Eastern Africa is going through a real crazy time right now. They have a crisis. They have a food crisis happening because there is a locust infestation. A swarm of locusts has covered the eastern region of Africa since December. It is the size of 250 football fields. I just want to let y'all think about that, right? Like, there's motherfuckers in Kenya, and COVID just hit over there. Coronavirus just touched East Africa. So I'm like, yeah, but they already had their own problems with them locusts. The locusts done tore through people's crops. They ain't got no food this season. And I'm like, well, if they growing their own grain and they growing it to eat and growing it to sell, and there's no grain, where they gonna get food from? You know, it's a lot of shit going on in the world right now. So we need to just send prayers and figure out what we can do to help our brothers and sisters in East Africa and keep them in our thoughts, because they going through some crazy shit right now. Like I said, you can look it up right now. You can look it up on the internet and see the locusts, the size of these locusts. They're huge. Like, I done seen grasshoppers. I think grasshoppers are cute. These ain't cute at all. I was like, oh. And they're everywhere. And they're eating through everything. And it's been like that for months. They talking about the locust touchdown in December. It is about to be April. So I'm like, wait a minute. That's a lot. They've been going through a lot. You know, so like I said, I think that our elders would tell us to be grateful and think about what we have right now and keep our spirits high. You know, what did they do when they first got here and somebody was trying to tell them they couldn't practice what they was going to practice? They did what the hell they was going to do anyway. You know, so these are the times when we really focus on the ritual of what we do. These are the times when we tidy up our ancestor altars. We recommit ourselves to keeping it clean, to keeping a connection, to, you know, we share a little bit of our food with our people. We call on our ancestors to help us and keep us safe and protect us and the children and our families and the community right now during this crazy time, you know. And we really think about the fact that we got other people and other forces that are guiding and protecting us that are not based in this timeline, right? So even when you praying, you know, make sure that you use very general language with them, because you saying coronavirus, they don't know what coronavirus is. They say, what is that? What is that? I'm not trying to get the flu. I'm not trying to get sick. Keep my body clean. Keep my body clear. Like, you know, pray with intention. Okay? And that's pretty much it. That's all I got. I'm not about to be walking around here feeling scared and shit like that. But, you know, we are going to be revamping the way we do things. So, we are at the 30-minute mark of the show. And, like I said, I wanted to do this general reading. I pulled these cards from the Akamara Tarot. I will be posting a picture on my story. And the 3 cards that I pulled that I think are really, really fitting, I pulled Iyalawo, which is the High Priestess. I pulled the 4 of Calabash, which is the 4 of Cups. And I pulled Onija Kane, which is the Knight of Wands, I believe. Let me just make sure that that's the Knight of Wands. Yep, it's the Knight of Wands. Okay. And the Knight of Wands is always, he's a funny guy. But let's start off with the Iyalawo card. Okay, so this is the High Priestess in the Rider-Waite Tarot. In the Rider-Waite deck. In the Akamara Tarot, she calls it Iyalawo. It's ruled by the moon. Element is water. Aware, it's intuition, secrets, spiritual insight, esoteric wisdom. Still, it's blocked intuition, secrets, misuse of spiritual gifts, right? And it says the meaning. In the Yoruba language, Iyalawo means mother of mysteries or mother of wisdom. The term Iyalawo indicates a woman who has knowledge of sacred wisdom that may include Ifa, but subsequently goes beyond Ifa. The significance of the Iyalawo in Yoruba extends to the practice of interpreting the 256 Odu, or mysteries, as well as performing traditional healing or divining solutions to problems. It is ultimately a spiritual title that denotes a priestess of Ifa. While I am not at liberty to share beyond that basic understanding of who an Iyalawo is or is capable of, at the behest of my family, and as respect to this culture, it is clear as to why she fits the high priestess's meaning quite uniformly. Okay. In a reading, this card represents the possession of a strong intuition. Your mind must trust the wisdom that your spirit brings to the table. In my experience, this usually serves as a warning to the reader. You already know the answer to this question. Your intuition is leading you in a certain direction. So why are you questioning it? Perhaps this is a harsh way of explaining it, but never once has it been wrong. So frequently we love to play blind, to accept that we have no idea where we're headed. Even if you're reading for someone else, it suggests that they know what they must do, and they don't want to believe that they have the power to act on instinct. This card may also indicate secrets or concealed facts, influences, actions that are happening outside of your periphery that may be of significance to you. To those of you who have been researching about abilities, they have been repressing. This card can serve as validation. You can only benefit from the rewards you're seeking if you acknowledge the power within you to make decisions presented to you from the spirit plane. Your dreams, sudden reveries, and predispositions for the occult are not a coincidence. Trust in your intuition and the ability to see beyond face value. See, so this is what I'm saying, right? What would grandma do? Grandma's like, listen, I don't know what y'all trying to tell me on the news about this coronavirus. I know what I know. I know if I eat some garlic, I'm going to be all right. I know if I eat some ginger, I'm going to be all right. I know if I go to church and pray, I'm going to be all right. I know if I clean this house top to bottom, I'm going to be all right. Listen, she may not understand all of these things, these newfangled things, but she know what works. This is what the cards are saying, right? Let's go to the 4 of Calabash. Lose to that card, right? Lose to the Yalawo, to the High Priestess. 4 of Calabash. Okay. 4 of Cups. Ruled by Cancer. Another water. Element water. Aware, boredom, discontent, pessimism, frustration. Still, clarity, opportunities, realizing, wanting to be free, right? The 4 of Calabash is a card about you settling for what you have while sitting in discontent behind wanting more for yourself. However, take note of the sitting element that suggests that you are exhibiting apathy and regarding only the negative choices in life versus being optimistic and recognizing the blessings actively trying to enter your life. It could also be indicating that you are not showing enough gratitude for the things you already have or have accomplished and are only focusing on the next thing. It is a strong warning that you need to break out of old patterns and seek out causes worth fighting for, lest you stay unsatisfied. Bottom line, it is taking risks and abandoning unfulfilling routine, okay? So everybody's routine is broken up right now. And like I said earlier, you can't sit here and worry about all the things you ain't got when you have so much. Regardless of what you think you don't have, you have to start taking stock of the things that you do have in these times. And this is going to be really when you start to really look at yourself and look at what you have and look at what you're capable of. And it's going to be beyond anything that job was ever going to tell you that you was worth, that the society is ever going to tell you that you're worth. This is going to be a time when a lot of people realize their own power and they're not being placated by or distracted by the things that are no longer a factor right now. You know, having to go to work, having to leave your house, having to do all these things, having to separate your life in so many ways, drop kids off at school, run and do all these activities. Now you home. You got time to deal with yourself. You got time to deal with your family. You got time to recommit to new routines that are fulfilling, right? Make new routines for yourself that are fulfilling. Don't just fall back into the same old stagnant routine that you've been doing for however long you've been doing it. This is a time to take charge of yourself and believe that you can accomplish something new. Okay? So, and then lastly, we have Onija came, okay, which is the Knight of Wands, and I like the Knight of Wands because he's a knight. He's a spicy guy. Right? Anytime the Knight of Wands pops up, sometimes you be like, unpredictability. But given the other cards that we have, we might need a little bit of this. So, Onija came. Common name, Knight of Wands, ruled by Sag and Scorpio. Wait a minute. You got my vote. Was she also ruled by... Who was she ruled by? Oh, she was ruled by the moon. So this is a lot of water. Water and a little fire. Because Scorpio is a water sign. But Sag is a fire sign. So it's very steamy right here. Aware. Courage, wit, charm, energy, spontaneity. Still, arrogance, egotism, jealousy, unused creativity, right? The Onija of Cain can suggest that one is prone to changing course quickly. One that is subject to spontaneity and sometimes unreliability. It can suggest that this behavior is seen as mercurial to some on the outside looking in. However, the presence is a joyous one, nonetheless, for the moment. This card calls insignificant changes headed your way, perhaps in the form of traveling or moving house, but it may come suddenly. Unpredictability in a partner can be suggested by the arrival in this card in the spread as well. Bottom line, this card suggests spontaneity and a change of scenery. Okay, so while we got all these travel restrictions and they're kind of restricting how people are moving, there is going to be a change of scenery, I predict, and going inward, right? The scenery, changing the scenery within, changing the scenery within your home. Like, so even now that people are trying to figure out how they're going to accommodate kids being home for most of the day, you working from home, or like not having to work from home, but like having a babysitter. Now these are the times when people are going to start to maybe want to rearrange some things in the house, right? Tap into their feng shui, figure out, okay, what works best? How can we make it so that everybody has a little piece of the house, a little corner, a little, something where they can go and retreat? This is going to be a great time for just moving some furniture around, getting rid of some shit that you don't need, right? Donating some things, maybe, to people in your community, right? Like, moving things around, doing some internal restructuring. Like I said, with the 4 Calabash, talking about the routines and all these things. And then this Onija Kane, this spontaneous energy, this burst of energy coming from the back of this reading is on some lead with the elders, go with that, but understand that innovation and time waits for no one. And that's what I feel like this Onija Kane card is about. It's like, there's always gonna be that element of surprise, right? But if you're prepared, or you really surprised ever, you know what I mean? You might be a little pleasantly surprised. Sometimes people think that surprise is always a bad thing. Sometimes it's not. Innovation sometimes doesn't always come linear. This is going to be a time when a lot of things are changing. A lot of things quickly. People got to figure out how they're going to educate their children at home. People got to figure out how they're going to ration out food. People are trying to figure out how they're going to re-budget. People trying to figure out how they're going to pay their rent and their mortgage. This is a lot of quick change. It's not all bad. I don't believe that. So that is my community collective reading. I think it's pretty spot on. I've never done anything like this before, and I felt like the message was very clear. Lead with the mothers, break yourself out of routine, and don't be afraid of change, right? And with that being said, this has been the 10th episode of the How to Be Magical podcast. I don't know. I don't be keeping up like that. I should. I am going to end the season at the end of this month, though, and I want to start up a read-along of one of my favorite Octavia Butler books, Parable of the Sower. I will be doing a read-along. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do that. I don't know if I want to do it on live. I don't know if I want to make a Patreon, but I definitely want to, I probably might make a Patreon, only because, I want to be able to have, a exclusive, little community to talk about the book and things like that and give people a chance to actually get the book. But I want to read a chapter and then do a little breakdown of each chapter, because the things that we going through right now, like today, she's talking about in this book. And I think it's a great book. And I think it's a great way to break into Octavia Butler's work. If you've never read any of her work before, I'm a huge, huge, huge stan of her work. And I'm going to keep everybody posted on how that's going to happen. Also, I want you guys to put your post notifications on if you're following me on IG, So Things BK, because I will be doing some little flash sales. I want to do a QVC style thing, on live. I might do it with a friend. I don't know yet, but I think it's going to be something. I'm just trying to think of different and new ways to sell my products, and not just let it be just a sterile website, let it be more of an interactive experience, especially now that people got more time to be home during the day. So maybe I could plan something, that's maybe like a mid-afternoon situation. But I'll definitely keep you guys posted on that. So thank you so much for listening. Again, I hope you all staying safe, and leading with a lot of love and light and courage, and not really feeding into the fear. I've been limiting my consumption of the news because it's just not helping me. Like, I like to know what's going on, but I don't need nobody just, stirring the pot in my emotional bag all the time. Like, I don't need that shit. So thank you so much for listening. And I'm going to share these cards on my story right after, but keep it black, keep it beautiful, and stay magical. Peace.